From the heart of Europe to the world, this is RTI.
It certainly is. It's a bit grey here today, I have to say. I'm looking a bit like John Major. Very grey. But that's another story. You won't get that unless you've ever seen the Muppets. What was that show called? It was like Muppets, wasn't it? I don't know. It was something like the Muppets, and Banksy's going to tell me in a minute when I open the microphone up for him, which is going to annoy me immensely. So I'm trying to... Got it. Spitting Image. That's the one. Oh, thanks, Dave. I was nearly there, and Dave Rhodes goes Spitting Image on the screen. Marvellous. You can't... You know who your friends are, aren't you? Anyway, I'm Eric. We're... No, we're not here. I'm here. He's there. I am in the beautiful town of Poprad. Soon we will be a we in Poprad when Rachel gets here at the end of the year, but that's another story. In the meantime, it's over to the UK. Just going to paddle across the pond, put my water wings on to get through the North Sea, and there I go. Hello, Leigh Banks.
How do you do? I must say that that is fake news, of course. Some more fake news from Eric Wiltsher. I am in a mystery location.
In England.
I am not at liberty to say which hemisphere it is in or where.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. What do we think, boys and girls? England? Yes. All those in favour say aye. Thank you.
I am not telling you where I am.
Well, you don't have to tell us where you are in the big wide world, but in the big wide world, you're still in the UK.
I would... no, I'm sorry. I am sworn to secrecy on this. I cannot share. You can bully me. You can waterboard me. You can abuse me with all sorts of instrumentations, and I will never reveal my location.
In which case, I will tell you the right way to approach you, which is I'm not going to do any of those things to you, which will annoy you intently.
All right.
There you go.
I'll just get somebody out in this country. Oh, no. Oh, no.
He dropped himself in it, boys and girls. Hello, Rach.
Hello.
Are you well?
Yes, I'm much wellerer than I have been in the last few weeks.
I have to say you're now fired.
Why?
Because your gravelly voice that you were doing for voiceovers is now gone.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Maybe if I do this for a bit longer. No, I'll get all worn out again. Friday.
Is it freezing cold where you are?
Well,
no, it's not.
By Australian standards, it's pretty cold. By mine, it's not. It's about, I think it's going down to about 4 or 5 degrees tonight, which I love. I love.
I told you it was still warm in us. No, I said to somebody the other day, it's still warm in Australia. But they said, what do you mean warm? I said, well, I think it's around about 5-6 degrees. So I was a couple out. But that's still warm by my standards.
Of course it is. And during the day, it's like 15, which is
wow.
Anyway.
Excuse me.
What?
Can I talk about the weather in the mystery location, please?
No, because we know it's England.
It's 93 degrees here.
In Fahrenheit.
And that's Fahrenheit.
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
How was it? 90 what?
93.
93, so that's...
Actually, it's the same as your age.
60,
like 32.
That's like 32 in centigrade.
Yeah.
Yeah, blinking hot. I just had to have a jacuzzi. Because we have a jacuzzi in the mystery location, and I've just jacuzzied in ice.
Right.
Nice.
I'm like a cocktail now. Well, I've always been accused of being in that situation, actually.
Well, that's very true. But, I mean, now you've got me thinking where the devil you are.
Oh, don't you start thinking about my cocktails.
Oh, no. Make no mistake. Nobody's thinking about that.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Anyway, boys and girls, we're going to have to calm down a little bit. We'll probably be a bit more frivolous towards the end of the show when Nissan gets both barrels. Both barrels. And I have a new mnemonic just for Nissan.
A Nissan mnemonic.
A Nissan mnemonic. Special thing. They are welcome to use it. I do not claim the copyright on it, although I did write it myself. It's open source. Anybody can use it. And I'll explain more about that later. Anyway, very sad news, actually. Countess Mountbatten of Burma, who died. Her husband was killed in an IRA bomb attack back in 1979. And as an unusual thing, when Earl Mountbatten of Burma was killed and murdered, the title transferred over to his wife, which was a very unusual, slightly weird constitutional thing in the UK. And so she became Countess Mountbatten of Burma. And I think that, you know what? That was very apt.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a good thing. She was... The Mountbattens, obviously, because of the links with the royal family, etc., have always had a fairly bad press. And but Countess Mountbatten of Burma actually rectified that and became one of the most reclusive yet loved figures of royalty, etc., in Britain. You're quite right.
Do you know?
I can't speak either.
Do you know, Leigh, I know where you are.
Where?
In an empty cupboard.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say that too.
I'm sitting on my balcony in this mystery location.
You're not on a balcony.
I'm on a balcony. Yes.
Right, but you've got the windows closed then.
No, Juliet is there below me. She's waving her things at me.
Yes, absolutely.
Is it an enclosed balcony, Uncle Leigh?
It's enclosed.
It isn't. I'm getting so angry.
Well, you're echoing.
Every man is allowed to have a mystery location with a jacuzzi and a balcony.
I agree,
And
Dave.
an echo.
Dave says it sounds like he's in the bathroom.
It does.
I'll go and get a rectifier. Carry on amongst yourselves for a minute.
All right,
All right,
okay. I'm going to need your help, Rach.
Yes,
Anita Pallenberg?
that's correct.
I don't...
You didn't need my help at all.
Get lost. You don't know who Anita Pallenberg is.
Well, I thought I was going to get the
he
name
was just
wrong.
checking the pronunciation. He was checking the pronunciation.
Well, Rach is our official announcing person, proper thing, like talk what
How
I
did you
should.
get Pallenberg?
I don't know. I was just scared. I was having a
He was
moment.
nervous to say it, but he got it right. He got it absolutely right. He was bang on the money.
Thank you.
Now you got to try and say Pallenberg. Now, if you got Anita right, you could probably do Pallenberg.
I did Pallenberg right.
Look, never mind you, Uncle Leigh, Mr. Johnny Come Lately.
Yes.
You've been off getting your rectifier. We've been having a nice chat without you, so just be quiet. Thanks very much.
Right.
I've got the rectifier, but every time I stick it in, it cuts me off.
Oh, right.
Is that
It's a bad
better?
night.
I don't know. I can't hear you.
Anyway.
No, I can hear you. I can hear you. Anyway, poor old Anita has died. She was very much connected to the Rolling Stones in the 1960s. And...
Keith Richards' bride.
a whaty?
Keith Richards used to be with her. She was Keith Richards' I think it was him anyway. And she was lovely. She was actually the equivalent to Marianne Faithfull of that period, who used to be Mick Jagger's arm person, and she was the same. The difference was that Marianne Faithfull was actually quite talented, and Anita Pallenberg wasn't, although she did have a little bit of film career where she would walk around talking in a very deep voice.
No. Marianne Faithfull was most famous for A Girl on a Motorbike. The film.
And music. She made some fabulous songs.
This is true. Hi, Mary Lou. Got to say hi to Mary Lou. Say hello, Mary Lou.
Hello,
Mary Lou.
Hello, Mary Lou. Goodbye, heart. Oh, sorry.
For goodness sakes.
Why in the loo, Mary? You keep saying I'm in the loo.
Anytime I can talk now, if that's the
No,
right
you can't talk.
use.
Sorry.
Gee.
Would you like to speak, Rach?
Yes. Was it Anita Pallenberg's? Was her function similar to that horrible Patricia What's-her-face, who was Jim Morrison's black satanic bride at one point?
I think Simba...
Pamela Excelsior, she was lovely. She was gorgeous. She did actually mess him about a bit, I must admit. But no, Anita Pallenberg wasn't in that kind of ilk. Pamela Coulson was just a mad, drugged-up, gorgeously insane young woman who was in love with the wildest man of rock and roll, where Anita Pallenberg was just, she enjoyed a bit of the old dragon things, and she was just there. She, like I say, she tried to make a career for herself, and it didn't really work out. But she remained famous forever. The problem was she was apparently a sadomasochist. She dabbled in black magic. And, well,
no. Leigh, I didn't mean Pamela, not Pamela. I mean Patricia, what's her face? That photographer who was into. He had a black satanic marriage to her, and it was very strange.
Yeah, no, she was weird. She was a weirdo, weird woman.
I've completely lost the plot now.
Oh, Leigh and I
the listeners won't, because the listeners know what we're talking about.
Well, I don't.
Yeah, but that's because you never listen.
Oh, all right. Anyway, I'm going to get... I'm going to get us lost now as well, because apparently a gentleman called Vin Garbett, who was 69 years old, he's died. He was a folk singer for many, many years, apparently, up in Teesside in the UK, which equally doesn't mean that very much to me, and I'm very sorry about this, and I'm sure it's sad loss to his family. But as far as folk music goes...
Lovely fella, love to have a cup of tea with him.
Yes.
Glad he's dead, yeah.
No, I mean, I know the lovely Susan who works on BBC Cambridge would probably know him inside out and backwards and know everything about him because she does love her folk music. And hi, Susan. But from my side of the fence, I don't get folk music.
Folk music's good.
Me neither.
Thank you.
Why? It's the traditional music that everything from blues to rock music grew out of.
Oh.
Well, it's not to say it's not valid, Uncle Leigh. It's just that we don't. It's not something that we would turn on and listen to on purpose.
True. Oh. And may I just question your comment, Mr. Banks?
Yes.
Let me think. Manfred Mann's Earth Band.
Yeah.
Joybringer.
Yeah.
And that is nothing to do with folk music, but an awful lot to do with Hull's Planet Suite.
Absolutely, but that is, well, yes, you know what? You could well be right, but the very basic...
Blimey! Whoa! Hold on!
On that one song, you may well be right. And a lot of Rick Wakeman's stuff wasn't based on blues but the basics of rock and roll are folk music, blues.
All right, okay then. We're not going to win this argument, are we?
Actually, in the 60s, when folk music, because of his royal bobness, became very popular, actually had quite a good career, like that other bloke with the round glasses on and a big fat face who comes from the place where I was born, whose name escapes me desperately at the moment. He was the same. There was loads of them about, and Vin Garbett was one of the best, but he didn't have a... Well, he had a massive career.
Do you know what? I think you must have been listening to the BBC back then.
Why?
Because it's the sort of stuff that they would play, whereas my youth radio was all into, energetic pop music.
That's because you're a big girl and you like to throw shapes.
Don't you start?
Yeah, I've seen you throwing shapes. Have you seen him throwing shapes, Rachel?
Oh.
No.
It's like the Michelin Man on speed.
Oh, this is so bad. This is so spooky as well. Do you know what? Well, we were having a glass of lemonade on Wednesday night, as one does, and one of the guests was Jan Talensky, who started to describe people by shapes, as in the business way, like a circle and a squiggle and a box and a triangle.
I had the squiggle, I remember, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, did he have a webcam in there that I didn't know about? Or something like that. And we move on to somebody I do know who was a man that drew me to the television when I was a youngster. Adam West, Batman. He's world famous on every level. Mm-hmm. And do you know what's funny? The fact is that some of the Batman shows are still being shown on TV today.
They are so good.
They are good.
it's so awesome. What was great about it was that it was just brilliant at sort of taking the mickey out of itself. It was just so clever and
it was.
And it was so camp and it was so kitsch and it was just the most brilliant thing in the world. But a whole new generation of people came to love him for him playing himself on Family Guy as Mayor West.
Yes, absolutely.
And that was just galactic. He and Seth MacFarlane had this deep and abiding, wonderful friendship, and he was horribly sad. Poor old Seth MacFarlane was horribly sad. They got to retire that character now, of course. But a whole new generation of people came to love him, and then of course you can stream these old shows if you don't have access to them on your free to air services. You can stream them on a lot of services, and they're just so camp and hilarious and ridiculous and so great.
Absolutely.
Here's a description of the shows. I think this is really good. Using a bright colour palette, psychedelic sets, tilting cameras to emphasise the crookedness of the baddies, and screen-filling bursts of pow, sock and wham. And that's the way it was. It was just brilliant.
Do you know who nicked Pow, Sock and Wham once?
To Pow?
No, that naughty Dave Rhodes. He nicked them for some graphics on the telly, I remember.
Yo, naughty David Rhodes.
He did. Oh, no. Naughty. Oh, no. Not only did Mary Lou join us and Vinny join us, but now Yoda's joined us.
Yoda.
Oh, wow.
My name is Yoda.
We are definitely honoured today. Boys and girls, we're going to be serious.
Yes, be great we will. Be great we will.
Yes, we are going to...
Just before we move on to seriousness, this is a serious point. I'd just like to point out, and I don't mean this in a churlish bad way, that Adam West was actually one of the victims of the hedonistic 60s and imbibed in all sorts of nefarious activities and was alcoholic and everything. But he made it to 88. Good,
brilliant.
And he rap along the way.
Do you know I love honest people as well?
Me too.
That's good, because Dave just says, oh dear, I might have to plead guilty to that.
To what?
But Dave Rhodes will always put his hands up when he nicks things.
Does he? How do you know?
Because he's a straight-up fella, that's why. He's a straight arrow.
Oh, get you!
Yeah, that's it. We have to be with Rachel straight up.
Yep.
Oh, you numpty. Right, we are going to be serious, so calm down, everybody. And I apologise if you find this in any way, shape or form difficult. I know it's difficult for a lot of people, and I know it's very painful for a lot of people as well. But as we are a news programme, it's something that we have to do. We don't necessarily like it, but we have to, because there's the unbelievable tragedy in London this week at the Grenfell Towers. Which ironically is just around the corner from LBC Radio where I used to work. So I saw the thing every flipping day I went to work. There's a lot of people. The danger is, and I don't want to mix anything up, because I found it rather offensive last night watching a TV interview where somebody was pushing a police officer to get numbers from him. And I'm going to say the same thing. Nobody knows right now what the death toll will be. They don't know how many people are just missing. It could even be that some people have just lost the plot for a few days and cleared off, because that can happen to people in these circumstances. But we do know there are fatalities. We do know there are more people to be retrieved from the building when it's safe to get in. And at the moment, there is still incredible spots of heat, even to this day, this morning, and there will be for some considerable time. The reason the fire officers don't go in there and just kind of like pour a fire extinguisher over it is they can't do that yet, because, again, they've got to make sure that the building is safe for them to go in. They can't carry on damping down as they were, because that puts more pressure on the building itself, because water is very, very heavy. And when it's sitting in huge blocks of concrete underneath it, it can cause problems. So they're in a bit of a catch-22 situation where all they can really do right now is stand back and wait. And they will have to wait. And they can't start the real investigations until that time has elapsed. And equally, excuse me, people are talking about what caused the fire, what didn't cause the fire, what created vents for air to go through. There was talk of a fridge causing the original fire. Now, that doesn't actually play out with me because of the science. It's very unlikely the fridge itself would have done that. But what could have happened is that we have a horrible tendency, and I pray everybody listening to this show goes and checks later. In this day and age, we are terrible. We have extension leads or extension cords, call them what you will, everywhere in the house. What we tend to do is we coil them up to make them tidy. The danger with that is, here comes the science bit, that causes a magnetic field. When that happens, the electricity going round and round gets hotter and hotter and hotter, and eventually it can burst into flames. And the trouble with flats is there's never enough plugs, well, there never is in any house really, and we end up using multi-way plugs, and we don't run them out properly. If you need a 1 metre lead, buy a 1 metre lead, not a 4 metre lead, and coil it up, because it's dangerous. And I can't tell you enough how dangerous this is. We did lots of studies on that years and years and years ago. So, moving along, both the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition have been down there. There was a lot of negativity about the Prime Minister going, saying, well, she only met the emergency service. Now, hold on. There was enough people there already. There were probably too many people for the roads anyway. And if the Prime Minister had announced that she was going down there and waited to talk to people, the amount of press, police, security issues that would have gone with that idea was just too much to even think about. It would just be putting more stress on the emergency services, and they're tired enough now.
Absolutely.
So all this malarkey, well, she only went and talked to the emergency service people. Yeah, absolutely. That's what she didn't need to do anymore at that point, because you need to wait.
Can we just go back to what you were saying about the fridge, though? And I take your point, and I think what you've just said actually is probably what caused it, not just that the fridge burst into flames.
No.
But there is no real doubt that was the seat of the fire, because the bloke who...
We don't know yet.
Well, there is very little doubt that is the seat of the fire. There hasn't been an inquiry, and the speculation based on the fact that the bloke whose fridge it was ran around the building telling people to get out because it was on fire indicates that almost certainly was the cause. Now, the other thing which is really important on this is the fact that actually this potentially is not the only thing like this that is likely to happen in the UK. If you go and read the Consumer Watch Foundation, there's a story on there which is from a leading authority on this kind of thing who works for the government, and he says there are 30,000 homes in Britain which have had this material fitted to it, and they are almost certainly going to have to be torn down. And this material has killed people in Saudi. It caused problems in Australia.
Yes.
It's banned in America. So really...
Well, it's now... Don't forget, Leigh, it's banned in America now.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
The cladding. Are you talking about the cladding?
Yeah.
Yeah, the cladding, yeah, it's banned.
Yeah, it's fun. It's funny you say that, Uncle Leigh, because I'm so glad you do have this wonderful story on Consumer Watch Foundation. Yeah. Everybody Google that. Because on our news reports when this fire broke, they were talking about this cladding, and it's got many apartment buildings in Melbourne have got this cladding all over it. So it's a matter of not... Yeah, it's a matter of not
do you know what annoys,
but when.
Do you know what annoys me about it? We recently had the building where the studios are here in Poprad. Yeah. It was a bit cold in the winter, to be fair, and they put proper insulation cladding around it. Now, I don't know where it came from at the time, but I actually said to one of the, because I was hanging out the window talking to one of the workmen, and I said, is this stuff fireproof? And he said, oh, yeah. He said, have you got a lighter? So I said, yes. He said, try and light it. And I tested it. We even put a lit cigarette on it and let it burn all the way up. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And so there are products out there that are replacing the old ones, which still do the same job to keep all the eco-friendly people and keep your electricity and gas bills down as well, without risking life and limb.
But that's the thing. If you look at it, like Rachel said, I didn't realise how big it was in Australia. But the Consumer Watch Foundation story says it clearly, and it's factual. It's believed that the cladding contributed to similar tower fires around the world, including residential blocks in Dubai. Yeah. There were somebody was killed in 2012, and 6 people were injured in Roo in France. And and it's just an endless thing, and yet we were allowed to put this up. I don't think there is any, you've got Lily Allen talking absolute rubbish on television about the press are hiding the figures of the dead. There are hundreds of people dead in this.
Rubbish.
Well, Lily, absolutely well said. What an idiotic woman that is.
Actually, talking of idiotic comments, and now that the general election's over, I'm safe. Jeremy Corbyn went down there as well, and he put his arm around people, and then he was smiling to the camera almost, and then spoke the words that the Labour leader has suggested that Kensington apartments that are currently empty should be used to house people without a place to stay.
But only the ones who belong to rich people.
That's right. Now, the problem with that, Jeremy, is this. Number one, security. Number 2, who pays the bills? Number 3, who gives them the key and the contract? Thanks, Dave. I just got another note in from Dave on breaking news, etc., etc. Now, the problem with all of that is it costs a mint to do it, a small fortune to even arrange it. But there's a solution, and I've come up with a solution, boys and girls. Dead simple.
What is it?
All of Jeremy's Labour MPs, and I think there are something around a couple of hundred of them dotted around. Jeremy, your colleagues all have, well, not all, but most have houses or apartments in London to be next to Westminster. Now, they don't all double up like the YMCA. They've all got their own little abodes, and you couldn't put homeless people in with those MPs simply because, and face the facts, because of national security. They sometimes walk around with documentation which is incredibly confidential, and so therefore they couldn't do it. But what they could do is if man has 3-bedroom flat, he gets 2 other men to go in there with him and gives the 2 flats that you lot are already getting the expenses for, Jeremy, to the homeless people. So in under an hour, you could house the lot, Jeremy, instead of having a political comment.
Absolutely. And may I just ask a question and then make a statement?
Go on.
The simple question is, how many of these victims has Jeremy Corbyn and the idiotic Lily Allen got sleeping on their couches?
None.
Well, they're trying to give away other people's houses. But the main comment has to be that where Jeremy Corbyn, who is a faceless, chinless wonder, is wandering around and cuddling victims, this is the latest thing for people to do to get in the media. All the presenters were cuddling victims. This has never happened before. And yes, I'm sure Julie, whatever she was called, what really was making a heartfelt gesture when she cuddled that victim of the fire. But Jeremy Corbyn, who is as cold as a dead fish, jumped on that bandwagon.
Sure. And can I just... I'm going to interrupt you for a minute, Leigh, because I think there's a couple of other sensible things we can do. Yeah. When we moved into our apartment, one of the first things, before we even put furniture in there, and everybody looked at me as if I've lost the plot, which is nothing unusual, I have to say, because I went to the local DIY shop, and the first thing I came back with was 2 fire extinguishers.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with the apartment block, the residents' association, no responsibility on anybody else. I lived in a multi-purpose building with other people living in it, and I took the responsibility on my own area to make sure there were fire extinguishers in place. In today's world, they cost about a tenner.
Yeah.
Maybe 20. Now, is it not worth, instead of arguing, oh, we want sprinklers, we want this, and I know they should be there, but why wouldn't you just spend 20 quid and avoid 2 packets of cigarettes and get yourself a fire extinguisher and put the fire out?
Yeah.
Well, that's true, but I think also people, you have to have, we're regulated by law to have smoke alarms, and people have to make sure that they are working and that they have fresh batteries in them.
Yep.
Because it's no point having a smoke alarm on your ceiling if it does not work.
Correct.
Because your nose goes to sleep. Your sense of smell goes to sleep, and that's why people don't wake up when there's a fire.
Yep.
They don't smell the smoke.
And I do think, Rach, that level of taking responsibility for your own little area in a block is absolutely right, and it's a wonderful thing to do. And why other people... You know, I know that there's going to be issues. There's going to be a blame game that's going to go on for 18 months. But at the end of the day, if everybody had taken a little bit of responsibility, it might not have happened. It could have done, but it might not. If they could have got to that alleged fridge fire as fast as you could in my place, then it would have been put out. It would have been put out, absolutely. And I've got such a phobia about this that everywhere I go, you know, the first thing that came into this building alongside the bits of furniture, fire extinguishers.
I think you're right.
It's a fact of life. Meanwhile, there is a huge charity effort going on, and I have to say thank you, believe it or not, to Al Jazeera, which is the Saudi Arabian-based channel, as you obviously well know. And they got in touch with me as well and said, look, we've got this list, Eric, would you like to publish it as well? Which we did. It's on the RTI Radio Facebook page. There's a list of places where you can donate food, clothing, and, you know, the normal household essentials that people need. You know, even a flipping razor blade can be handy at this time if you've got need a shave, let alone all the anti-bong stuff and all that sort of stuff. But the tabernacles and churches, mosques, they will all take in donations, fiscal donations, that will be passed on to the people. There doesn't need to be a million crowdfunding sites. The local area can help, and there's a huge list on there of where you can go, what you can donate, and there's addresses, phone numbers, the works on there. So please, if you can help that way round, before you go over there with, I don't know, some baby clothes or something, because you think that's the right thing to do, just give them a quick shout, see what they need, and it may well be that they do need baby clothes. We don't know. If they want you to pop across there with a bunch of tinned fruit, pop across there with a bunch of tinned fruit. At which point, boys and girls, we have to take a very, very quick commercial break. We'll be back in a couple of seconds' time.
RTI.
Everybody okay? Remember your training, all right?
RNLI lifeboat crews are unpaid volunteers. They rescue 22 people every day. On a lifeboat, training is a matter of life and death, and it costs £1,000 a year for each crew member. As a charity, we receive no UK government funding, so our crew's safety depends entirely on your donations. Please call 0800 543 210 and donate £20 or whatever you can afford. Because next time, this could be for real.
RTI.
And indeed it could. The RNLI, wonderful people. Dave's popped over to see the breaking news, which I didn't do before, and I will do now, that the confirmed death toll in the West London tragedy has now risen to 30, and the police are expecting it to rise even further. Our thoughts, prayers and commiserations to the families of those that have lost people, loved ones. It just can't be real. It's horrible, and I can't put myself in the position that they are in, because I've never been there. And if you've never been there, how can you put yourself in their shoes? It's impossible. We can only just try and make them feel a little bit better. That's the only thing we can do. A bit of London spirit is what we need. Odd story here, which I had to go hunting for, to be quite honest. And there's more on this a bit later on. The Russian military have claimed they've killed the leader of the Islamic State group. It's not going everywhere. It's not running around the wires that much, but it is on the wires. But it was according to the Russian Defence Ministry.
It's in all the national newspapers.
Well, I don't read national newspapers.
Well, then you can't say what you said.
I can.
You just did.
I just did. Yeah. It's on the newswires, but it hasn't got much there.
Don't worry, Uncle Eric. I haven't heard it either.
No, well, there you go, you see. But luckily we are connected to the newswires, which is kind of cool. And I have to say, if Russia's done that, well done, Vlado. All I can say, really.
Well, yeah, no, it is a good thing. It's it's one of those stories. The reason it's not doing much is because there isn't a lot to be said. If it's real, and most national newspapers, most reputable news outlets are carrying this story, but are carrying basically what we've got, which is exactly what we said. IS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi was killed in an airstrike at the end of May. Now, this has been kept secret for some reason, probably because it was the Russians what did it. And
but don't forget there was also the fasting season for Muslims as well. Could have been that.
No, not really. No,
Ramadan.
Ramadan.
Well, we didn't want to offend them.
Correct. Why not?
Crazy.
Any self-respecting Muslim would be pleased that what the ISIS leaders
we would hold back the news based on the fact it was Ramadan.
Possibly. No. I don't know.
Well,
I'm just trying to be helpful here, you know.
I know. We appreciate it.
Yeah, it was a lovely thought, but no, there is a reason, and that's the kind of control on the press that we now seem to be demanding in Britain is exactly what you have in Russia. And if this had happened in Britain, if it was Britain who'd done it, it would have come out at the end of May when it happened. In Russia, they held it onto it, not because of Ramadan, I'm sure. I'm sorry, I'm not being rude or...
No.
But it wouldn't be because of that. There would be some other reason behind it. Now,
possibly, yeah. And can I just add something to what you said there, Leigh?
Yes, sorry, yeah.
I do hear what you're saying about the media in Russia, and you know, fortunately, I can occasionally speak to Russian people and directly. Yeah. But what I will say is there's some incredibly clever people in Russia, far smarter than Mr. Putin, who do get the news out, but not necessarily in the printed form.
No, but this
maybe Mr. Putin and Mr. Trump couldn't agree on when they were going to release their information.
Well, that's true. Perhaps they were arguing over who did it.
That's terrible, though. You think about put it in, Trump.
Oh, dear.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Right, boys and girls, I'm going to do a consumer feature.
Oh,
This is funny.
It's not funny. It's not funny. It's about a year's battle, and it took a year. And the reason I want to share is...
It's funny.
It's not funny. The reason I want to share is you as consumers should not give up. And seriously, if you're not in one of the positions that I'm in, because I'm a bit of a spoilt brat and I admit it, then please, if you get in a similar situation... Now I'm going to say it. Go to the Consumer Watch Foundation and get advice from Leigh, rather than just sit there and suffer at the hands of somebody who's not doing their job properly. Because at the end of the day, you've paid for something. Now, as a lot of you know, because I absolutely adore the car, I bought a Nissan, the Go Faster... Thank you. The Go Faster version. With
That means it starts.
But after a year, I've come up with a new name for Nissan, a mnemonic, just for Nissan. Not intrinsically slow, sometimes annoyingly noxious, because I think that sums them up. Now, when I got the car, bearing in mind the local motorway to me had been open for a couple of years, the satellite navigation didn't have it on it, which was a good start. Because 2 days after I got it, I had to go to Bratislava, and it kept telling me I was going the wrong way because there was no road where I was. In fact, I think I drove through a big puddle at one point when I was driving on a motorway. The training videos that are on YouTube say one thing, and yet in Europe, it's completely different. Now, Nissan, you've got to get your act together on this, because people go onto YouTube, they see things like I did, and they go, well, they've got it, so where's mine? And they go, oh, I can't have it here. We haven't got a licence for it. Okay, well then say so on your videos and say what region they're for and make it clear. Now, in today's world, and I know I bang on about this a lot, and I know I do, there's no SMS reader in the car. None. And in today's world, we need to be sensible about SMSs because, in 2017, there's lots of cars about. When I first started driving, it would have probably been nearly, not quite, nearly safe to read an SMS message, because by the time you suddenly realise the car in front of you, it's about a mile in front and you've still got a chance to brake. But in today's world, there's cars all round you, and you cannot take your eyes off the road to read an SMS message and drive your car safely. It's impossible. So why didn't they put a ruddy SMS reader in the car as standard?
Why don't you just wait until you get to your destination and then check your phone? Unlike a nong who thinks they can do 50 things at once.
Correct.
There is absolutely no reason to SMS, take or receive or make a phone call while you were driving. When you get where you're going, that's when you do your business. There is no such thing as a cellular emergency.
No, there could. No,
I'm sorry, Eric. I agree with Rachel.
I think there could be if there was a disaster at home. I'm fortunate in that I dissuade people from using the phone a lot because I begrudge giving the telecoms company money. I'd much rather Skype or message or something. So I'm fortunate I don't get a lot. When I get an SMS, it's normally because it's something incredibly important. Now, my car says if Leigh was to send me an SMS from his phone, it would say Leigh.
He wouldn't do that. He doesn't know how to.
Well, that's true. I'm coming on to that in a minute, Rach. Don't worry. Anyway, it would say Leigh Banks.
That's me.
And it would read out your message in my car now.
It would say in a secret location.
Well, that's true. But the strange thing is, and get this, on the screen in the car, it has Facebook and it has Google searching. Mm-hmm. Now, how the heck are you going to drive a car sensibly whilst Google searching, looking at a screen in the middle of your dashboard?
Get a driverless car, because that's what you'll end up with, though.
It's insane. Not from Nissan, you won't.
No, it's so bonkers. So they put Facebook and Google in the car, but they don't put an SMS reader. Marvellous.
And what they're saying is they want you to die and kill others.
Oh, well, probably. Anyway, so the next bit was, we because it snows a lot here, like proper snow, like England, it's advised, not mandatory, but it is advised that you swap to winter tyres in the winter and summer tyres in the summer. Now, for logical reasons that every tyre person or mechanic would know, it is stupid to take winter tyres off and put summer ones, and vice versa. It damages the wall of the tyre. So what you do is you have two sets of wheels, one with winter tyres and one with summer tyres. Very simple. So I thought, you know what, just got car, we'll send it back to the Nissan shop and say, can you put some approved wheels on the car with winter tyres, please? Which they charge an exorbitant amount of money for. It came back. It was something like €800.
You're joking.
I'm not.
That's ridiculous.
So anyway, me being the lazy git that I am, I didn't take the car there or go and get it. My PA Petra did. And when she came back, I looked, I said, what the hell's that? She said, it's your car. I said, you didn't sign and agree to that. She looked at me a bit sheepish and went, yeah, why? They'd sent it back with no covers over the front wheel bearings of the car, apparently because I didn't ask for them. Now, how is anybody who's not a mechanic going to know that the front wheel bearings of a car are one of the weakest parts on the car? If they get dirt, dust and frosty stuff in them, they can fail. If they fail, your wheel can go wonky and you have an accident.
Well, yeah. He said, well, no. It's all been a very bad deal with Nissan for you. But I'll allow you to, because I know the outcome, but I'll allow you to continue your story.
So anyway, we carry on. The tyre sensing thing goes off and on like a yo-yo, but I'll fix that now. I then think to myself, I know, I'm not going to give that dealership more money. I'll swap from the winter wheels to the summer wheels myself, because I'm feeling fitter now. So I go to the car, there's no jack in the car. There's just a hole where the jack would be.
So, all right, Ray.
It gets better, Rach. It gets better. There I am in Poprad, Slovakia, saying to myself, I know I've seen a jack for sale somewhere. I know I have. I went to this shop, this shop, this shop, this shop. I got to the last one, and I'm now absolutely annoyed with the world. And so I think, right, I'm going to stand, and you shouldn't do this, I'm going to stand outside the car and have a cigarette, and I'm leaning against the car like in a manly way, as one does. And this bloke walks up to me and he said, are you okay? He said, are you okay? So I said, I said, sorry, man, my Slovak's not so good. And he said, English? I said, yeah. He said, and he repeated himself in English. Are you okay? I said, do you know what? I'm going crazy. And he said, well, what's the matter? So I said, I've been here, there. Can't find it because I want a jack from my car and I can't change the wheels. Blah, blah, blah. And he said, did you go to Obi? So I went, no! It's the only shop I drive past and didn't go in. He said, they're in there. He says, they're in there, mate.
Yeah.
In a beautiful London accent, he said, they're in there, mate. They're about €20. I said, I love you. Drove to this shop. There we go.
Did he run off?
Proper trolley jack. Goes back to the garage, jacks the car up, €20. Very happy with that.
You don't have a car, he has a trolley.
Yes. So my suggestion is this, boys and girls. If you suffer any of the above problems, which may be partly due to the dealership, not Nissan themselves, we will happily share with very, very senior people at Nissan who we have direct contact with now. Trust me on this. We have it. And yes, okay. Someone say you're being horrible. I'm not. And the other thing is, if you're stuck, there are SMS readers that are free. Get this, free, no money for your Android phone to make it talk in your Nissan car. Absolutely free. There are also apps for connecting your radio from your Android phone. Absolutely free. And according to Nissan, the problem is licensing of apps. Funny that. It's only in Europe.
I would like to have a consumer problem with Apple. If they could send me an iPhone 7, care of Eric at RTI, then I will absolutely let them know if there are any problems with it at all.
We'll guarantee to complain about it.
This is true.
Guaranteed.
And the other thing is, of course, if you do have an iPhone, you probably may not want a Nissan because it doesn't work with a Nissan. You have to plug it in through the 3.5mm jack, which a lot of iPhones don't have now anyway. So you're kind of screwed, really. So, actually, is it a bad car? No. The funny thing is, I'm sounding like Clarkson now, it's not a bad car. It's not. The Renault-Nissan partnership is actually quite cool, which is why I bought the car in the first place, because it takes the best of one company, the best of other. It's made in Sunderland. The core technology, the bit that makes the engine work, is made at the Cranfield Institute in the UK, which are renowned to be brilliant. I don't know why they didn't ask them to put the apps on as well. It's nimble, it sticks to the road. And if I was on a track day, obviously, because one wouldn't do this on the road, it would leave other cars standing. And I mean standing. It's dead easy to drive. It's a good city car, that's why I bought it. But it's let down by service issues and from time to time some BS from Nissan staff.
It's funny, though, I do have to say that my 8-year-old pretend Bentley does all the things that your Nissan, which is brand new, does. I've been doing it for 8 years.
I know. And you'd
Crazy,
think they'd get there and move on with it and catch up. My point is this, boys and girls: if you have a problem, get in touch with RTI, get in touch with Leigh, and we will pass the problems through to Nissan at a very, very senior level. And we're talking vice president level, so we're not mucking about here. And I have to say thank you to the two who remain nameless from Nissan, one of which who drove here on purpose to make sure that everything was finally concluded. And it was. It's only taken a year. We move on. Alienated parents to march on a court and Nicola Sturgeon's home, Leigh.
Yeah, actually, they're there now. They're actually there now. As we know, we've had on Postcard, we've done parental alienation fairly recently, and RTI and the Consumer Watch Foundation have taken up the cudgel on their behalf. Now, there is a group called DADS, which is a campaigning group, who have been doing exponentially over the last 12 months since they started up, and now have thousands and thousands of members. Mm-hmm. And they're a peaceful group. They don't cause problems. They don't do anything. The most dramatic thing they do, which is quite dramatic, is do the shirt off their back process, which is they get the names of alienated parents printed onto shirts. They go to a courthouse and leave the shirt at the courthouse with showing these are the people that you're not helping get back with their children. Mm-hmm. And Andrew John Teague, who is one of the main movers with DADS, has flown out to Edinburgh today to be with the other members of the group and people from Scotland who are suffering from parental alienation. We know what parental alienation is, don't we? It's when parents guard against the other. And they're going to do the shirts off my back at Edinburgh Sheriff Court, and then they're going to march across town to the Butte, which is the home of Scotland's First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon, where they will also, I believe, what they're going to do is leave one of the monikered shirts there. Mm-hmm. Like I say, they're a peaceful group. They're honest and straightforward and want to make a difference.
Okay, quickly, because we are short on time a bit, Leigh, because of my rant, sorry. Rach, over to you for the public service information. Apropos Australia this weekend.
Oh, yes, it's very important, and this is awesome, and I'm so excited. Our lovely friend Paul Brown, who lives in Toowoomba in Queensland, he has started doing a podcast for Left Behind Parents. Paul's story that I wrote about him was featured on Consumer Watch Foundation, about he and his son Liam, who he has not seen for an exceptionally long time. Paul now is doing a podcast where he's interviewing other Left Behind parents, mostly about international abduction and mostly from children taken to Japan. So Paul's program now is featured on RTI on the weekend, and that will be on at 0200 CET, I believe.
Which is?
I think it's about midday here in Australia.
That's why we planned it that way.
That was a good guess.
That's why we planned it. And before that, actually, is a whole Australian strand on there. Just before Paul's programme, we've now got an NZ on Australia country show as well. So it's a whole strand of Australia programmes first thing in the morning. In the morning and up to lunchtime in Australia.
So if you're in Australia now, you can listen to that on your Sunday afternoons or sort of mid-morning afternoon.
Yep.
And that would be really, really great to support Paul with his program. It's a great program, and I can't wait to hear it.
Well, there you go.
We will be featuring Paul's programs on CWF as well.
Yeah, so you can actually hear them in every which way but loose. I'm frantically stalling, boys and girls, because I'm trying to find a story, and I want to cover this one, and we haven't got a lot of time left. There was a big spat going on this week, and I can't tell you the source, and I'm going to claim journalistic confidentiality at this point. But there's been a whole bunch of complaints going on about Facebook and terrorism groups, namely at the the press conference prior to the France-England match earlier in the week, where the Prime Minister of the UK, Theresa, and the new President of France were both saying how they would work together to try and force Facebook into taking down very bad content sites. Yeah. Since that time, Facebook have also announced themselves that they're using a form of artificial intelligence to actually help them bring down and close terrorist jihadist groups. Now, both Leigh and I have been privy to some information from Facebook, and we've checked it. Some of the sites that were there, governments take notice. Facebook have taken them down without you getting involved. They're already doing it.
And as journalists, we will protect our source. Mm-hmm. But somebody needs a very great compliment for doing this.
I think so. I think they should. Yeah, they're good eggs, and so that's great. But what they're doing is they found a back door in where they can check stuff, and and Facebook are responding in seconds almost. It is so fast, and they're saying thank you. And Leigh and I have both seen the responses, and the sites in question, or the pages or groups, have gone. They do not exist anymore. So I don't disagree with governments having a little pop, but I do have a problem with them having a pop just to gain more political sort of prowess here and there, which I think is wrong, because actually Facebook are doing it. Now, what I would urge is that Google, and of course YouTube, which is part of Google anyway, also do the same things as Facebook are already doing. Yeah. Now, that'd be a good thing, because then everything... Yeah. So don't just keep having a go at Facebook, Mr. and Mrs. Government, because they are actually doing something worthwhile and making a difference already. It's just phenomenal. Just phenomenal. We haven't got time this week to talk about the shambles that happened in Heathrow, where people had to go off on their holidays with no luggage. The Australian...
You get free clothes. Don't let them tell you. It happened to me, and I got a whole suitcase of new clothes and all sorts of things off the company.
Good. I remember you doing that. The Australian actress Rebel Wilson has won a defamation suit against Bauer Media because they were being nasty about her.
They told lots of fibulous lies. You know what? Tabloid journalism is mucky and horrible.
Yes.
You can't just make things up. You have to fact check. You have to check your sources. Uncle Leigh will tell you all these things. But if you do that, people are going to come after you, and they're going to say, "Excuse me, you can't write that about me." And she won.
Correct. Yeah, she won.
Yeah, well, she won in the courts, but the organisation are saying they're not accepting it. So maybe they're not wrong.
No, what they're saying is that they're reviewing their position.
Absolutely.
Yes. And finally, before we get on to the weekends, there's going to be some upset Brits shortly because the deluge of people that went to Magaluf every year in Spain, the Brits, who were caught drunk, having sex with more than one person in a public area, etc., etc., etc. Now are not going to be able to do that because they're going to get fined. And do you know what? Good. Absolutely good.
Yeah, I think what's happened in places like Magaluf is absolutely shameful. But I think it's also an indicator of the low moral standard that we operate in Britain today.
No, it's shocking. Anyway, we move on quickly because I can see people getting ready. Why don't you come and listen to our programme as well as join us for Steve's programme? There's regulars that come in to listen to Steve Bishop's programme, who's on next, and they don't listen. That's shocking. Rach, what are you up to at the weekend?
Oh, a whole lot of nothing, but Robbie and I are going to drive to the snow country and look for a block to buy to build a house on.
Lovely idea. And Leigh? Leigh?
It's a true story.
A block?
A block?
Hello?
A block?
Yeah,
a piece of ground?
A piece of ground.
That's fine. That's nice. So you can build your own house?
Yes.
Yeah, in the middle of the snow, like just 25 minutes from where the snowfields are.
So it'll be an igloo?
Yes, I'm so looking forward to it. Then I can talk about how cold it is.
In which case, Leigh, but there's no time now to find out what you were doing the weekend because you were brewing up to telling a joke.
I wasn't. I was sitting here just
So, Rach, over to you. Bye-bye time.
Bye-bye, Uncle Eric. Bye-bye, Uncle Leigh.
Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.
That was Postcard from Poprad. Thanks for your company. We'll be back again next week. Well, hopefully the news isn't as bad as it's been this week. And we'll be back to our normal ways of having a bundle of fun.
The coolest station online. Yeah.
Hi there, this is your Royal Ruler on RTI. We're live and in colour.
RTI.
That's us. 'Cause we play this.
RTI.
You're never more than a minute away from the music on RTI.
RTI.